Okay, here we go. We're going to start on Sefira. There's a lot to say always, but let's just try to get the basics. Sometimes you get all the fancy stuff, and then you sometimes lose the basics. So if anything I say is
whether you say la or bar.
yeah, exactly. So let's get there. Let's get there. Okay, let's begin with a halacha that we've spoken out here, but just to understand it. When we go one step backwards, it's something that maybe people know, which is Sefiras HaOmer, Erev Tov Revarin, is Sefiras HaOmer 49 separate mitzvahs or one large mitzvah? Something you've probably sat through many a bar mitzvah boy pshatel, and you probably heard that line, and after that you quickly, I would say take out your phone, but it might have been Shabbos. So whatever you did, but does it have any relevance? So most of us feel like not so much. So the relevant, yeah, bar mitzvah boy, but there's relevance to each and every one of us. And the reason is because we all know, did you miss a day? Are you in? Are you out? Where does that come from? So this comes from the machlaikas, whether it's one large mitzvah or 49 parts. It's very simple. Let's not, sometimes we always, it's very simple. If it's 49 separate parts, every part's a separate mitzvah. If I didn't learn yesterday, am I allowed to make a bracha satayr today? If I didn't put on tzitzis yesterday, can I make a bracha on tzitzis today? Of course. Every one is a separate mitzvah. Oh, that's its own shmooze. That's also a very good question. We'll get there. I don't think we'll get there today. Maybe we'll get there one day. It's a more of a Shabbos Torah. But that's if it's separate bracha, separate mitzvahs. If it's one big mitzvah, then with 49 parts, then you have a big problem. Because then if you miss part of it, you miss the whole mitzvah. What's fascinating, if you were to learn the sugya, you would probably come out that the majority of Rishonim hold it's separate mitzvahs. And therefore, if you miss one day, you missed a mitzvah, so you got it the next day. We hold, as we all know, that we don't make a bracha if we miss. We are chayshish. I just want to say this very clearly. We suspect for the opinion that holds it's one long mitzvah, but it's a machlekes. Okay, so that was a fancy introduction. Who cares? We care as follows. If you have any sort of suffix, we're going to allow you to continue with a bracha. Because if the whole question is in first place a suffix, a machlekes, Rav Hai Goin says they're separate mitzvahs. The Bahag says it's one large mitzvah. So we paskin that if you miss a day, you cannot continue with a bracha. Okay. But let's say you have a suffix. You're not sure. Rabbi, I don't remember if I counted last night. What do you mean you don't know? I don't know. I went to shul. I maybe walked out early. I don't know. So usually, suffix brachas lakel.
Counted the wrong day.
Oh, that's also good. Suffix brachas. Here, the halacha is any suffix, you can continue with a bracha. Number one. Number two, what is bein hashmashais? Bein hashmashais is the time between shkia and tzeis hakochavim, between sunset and nightfall. It's a time period which is inherently a suffix. No one on this world, can even say including Hashem himself, because Hashem paskins what we paskin on this world, knows what is bein hashmashis. It's called twilight. It's inherently a suffix. And therefore, what? And therefore, it takes on the chumras, the kulas of everything. That's why on Shabbos you can't do malacha. It's why we don't daven Ma'ariv. We do daven. So now, someone's mimicking? That was weird. And now, let's continue. And now, what happens when you come bein hashmashis? Let's say tonight, right now, we're in the middle of bein hashmashis. Let's say right now, you're listening to the Shir Yelei last night's Sefira. Rabbi, it's past Shkia. We hold Shkia the next day. But because of the suffix, you know what you would do? Count last night's right now. And then you'd continue with a bracha. With a bracha.
Count last night's without a bracha.
Very good, thank you. Count last night's without a bracha, and then you continue. What if Erev Shabbos, you made early Shabbos? So it's Shabbos. It's Shabbos. Says Ramosha Feinstein, still, if it's not dark, it's not nightfall, it's not Tzeis HaKochavim, you're allowed to continue. You say it without a bracha, then you continue with a bracha. And this is also the reason why what we just did was whenever you're in a time of doubt, you count without a bracha, and you say, if I remember later, I'm allowed to count. Great, so then it's called you didn't count. And what if I don't remember later? You counted. When did you count? During Bein HaShvashos. It takes on both of them. So that's halacha number one, very important. And connected to this is, what happens when you're quote unquote out? Whoever coined that term was wrong. There's no such thing. What do you mean? I'm out. You're out of a bracha. You're not out of the mitzvah. What do you mean? Yeah, you still have to count. What do you mean I have to count? I thought you told me I can't make a bracha. Correct. You can't make a bracha. You still have to count. The truth is, l'chatzchila is that there's even more of a reason to be at a minyan, to hear the bracha from the Rav or the Chazan. Even better is to tell the guy next to you, can you have me in mind? But it's a total fallacy to say, I'm out. And unfortunately, because of that, when someone's quote unquote out, they just don't count at all. Okay. Halacha number one.
The opinion that says it's all one big mitzvah.
Yes.
Does that mean that retroactively it's bracha b'chol?
Good question. Good question. A lot of geschmack read about that. So the real answer, since you have no way of knowing, so Hashem's not going to nail you for something you have no way of knowing. But the way they discussed it is, what if someone knows they're going in for a surgery during Sefira and they're going to be out for the duration of a full day? So they know they're going to get out. Are they allowed to start with a bracha? That's where your question comes in play very strong. You know what's going to happen. Okay. Gishmak Hareid, as we started off, let's try to focus on what we need to know. So number one is, we have to know what Bein HaShvashos is. And with that, hopefully, we'll be able to save ourselves a lot of aggravation. Number two. I don't think we're going to have another share on Sefira. I think next week we'll move on to a new topic. But Lag BaOmer. I'll save it to then. Maybe we'll see how much time we have. Let's do that. Let's continue. Let's talk about haircuts, shaving, men, woman, and all the questions everyone asks. Okay, so we all know men, woman, no haircuts, no shaving, basically, right? Okay, great. Now, there are following questions everyone asks. Number one, what about a woman shaving body hair? Number two, what about a man who needs to shave for parnasa for his job? Number three, what about a woman cutting her sheitel? Number four, what about the kids? Okay, 4 questions about shaving and haircuts. So let's go in order. I don't remember the order I said, so we'll go backwards. Let's start with the kids. That's what I just remember. That was the last one I said. So let's start with kids. So why are we not shaving and why are we not taking haircuts? Well, we know why, because we're in the time period between Pesach and Shavuos, and Talmidim were nifter, and therefore there's some level of avilus. Wonderful. There's a klal. The klal is no avilus for children, basically, because they don't understand what they're being mitavel on. They don't understand what they're mourning for. So theoretically, say theoretically, because it's not really the minhag, theoretically children can get haircuts now. Now, it's just under our mitzvah, yes, thank you. Theoretically, I say, because the minhag is not to. I wonder aloud if the minhag became with the institutionalized schooling that we have, and from the age of, 5, 6, the kids are learning about not taking haircuts. It would be pretty funny. Mora gets up on the Monday and tells the boys, the girls, no haircuts next day. Little Yankel comes in with a fresh buzz. It doesn't work so well. So that's that. Now, what about Sharon, a chalaka, a 3-year-old birthday haircut? So for most of us, we don't really understand the question. Like, I don't know, so we'll do it afterwards, right? Because we don't really understand the whole Sharon thing. But if you were to ask like a real chassid about this, like, what do you mean? It has to be on the day. That's the din. That's what we do. That's the minhag.
So many people wait for like Omer?
It's only you can wait after. You can't do early. Big tires. Lamaisa, for those chasidim who are listening, don't know who they are, the Divrei Yatziv, the Kleisenberger Rebbe says, Lamaisa for chalak, you're allowed to be makel and give the kid a 3-year-old haircut on Sefira. Again, I don't I don't think that's really relevant to most of us. Okay, so that's children. Let's continue. Next was a woman cutting her sheitel. So this is fascinating, and this is where we sort of in our brains, unfortunately, lump like all halachas together, and we just get confused. Because we know there's 2 times a year we can't get a haircut. We actually know 3 times a year. Let's make it very confusing. We know there's Chol HaMoed, we can't shave, Chol HaMoed. And we know there's the 3 weeks, the 9 days. And we know there's Sefira. And in our brain, it gets mushed together And then you people are like, wait, so during Sefira Rabbi, I can't cut my nails? What did your nails do wrong? What? No, what do you mean? Cholamayid, you can't cut your nails. Right, because in Cholamayid, there's a din. You don't cut your nails because you want to come into Yontif with your nails cut. We all know that Terim. If you did it beforehand, you're allowed to do it again. But on Sefira, you're allowed to cut your nails. Okay? We know Sheitel. Which one? No, it's not. It's not a din. It's not a pride in avelus by cholamayid. Cholamayid, it's shaloi shouldn't come into. In real avelus might be different. It's true. Again, I'm just saying why we make the mistake. Tell me the chachamim might say what you just said. Very good. In real avelus might be a different din, but actually, I'm not really equipped. I'm actually not very good in hilchos avelus. Baruch Hashem, I guess we have a young chavra. Hopefully for many years. B'siyata d'shemaya. But that's nails. That's nails. So what about the sheitel? So we know that during the 9 days you can't wash. We know that people know something about a sheitel in the 9 days, and they know you can't take haircuts during Sefira. Hey, sheitel is taking a haircut. Chavra, it might be hair, it might be real, it might be expensive. I don't want to belittle the sheitel, but cutting the sheitel is no different than taking your pants to the tailor and having them hem the pants. It's an article of clothing. There's nothing wrong with fixing an article of clothing. Now, it's true. During the 9 days is a different halacha. There's a halacha that you're not allowed to launder. You're not allowed to wash your clothing. You can't wash your clothing? So you can't wash your sheitel. Maybe you could cut it without washing it. That's something about the 9 days. It's not a question. Just people make a mistake. You're 100% right. Sheitels, there's no question. It's perfectly mutter. But now, let's continue. And afterwards, I'll just put it in order so no one gets confused. A woman, lamaisa, also can't get a haircut in general. But when it comes to shaving body hair, lamaisa, it is mutter, certainly for the mikvah, and even stam, a woman is allowed to. Even single girls are allowed to, even though the real reason it's mutter is shlo titzgana al baila, so that a woman doesn't become repulsive to her husband, which is, one of the Gemaras that show that yes, Chazal certainly care about women, all the craziness. If you take out lines and you mix them up, then you could come up with funny things. But Lamaisa, she's allowed to, body hair is allowed to be removed during Sefira. And also haircuts, just one of the things, just an interesting kula. If a woman needs to get a haircut, like mashal, to fit under her sheitel or something like that, it's also allowed, because then it's for tznius reasons, it's not for beauty reasons, and therefore it's allowed. So basically, to sum up one that we missed one, is for work. Are you allowed to, what's the story with the shaving for work? Is it real? Is it not real?
I feel like
why do you feel it's not a thing?
nobody cares.
What do you mean no one cares? Explain. I agree with you. Yeah. I mean, because you just go look at what's going on, and people are doing. Yeah, So, but I do want to say there is a heter from Ramesha, and we have to know. Both things are very weighted. On one hand, it's true. On the other hand, Ramesha does right, and there could be scenarios in the public persona. I agree with what everyone here is saying. Velraya, you have people on the news with the beard and this and that. Like, what do you mean? Long hair is back in style and the unkempt style, whatever it is. But let's say someone has, I don't know, an interview. Let's say someone has something. And let's say and sometimes it is real. There is a heter. That's what we need to know. Number one. Number two is, just interesting, Shiloh. A lot of Bachram asked, what's the story with shaving for dating? Shaving for dating. So it's very interesting because in the text, there should be a heter. Just like we just said, there's a heter to go to work. Why? What's the heter? The heter is, you don't have to lose money based on it. If you can lose a shidduch also. The reality is, though, what happens when, a yeshiva guy shows up on a date, clean shave in the middle of Sefira? She's like, buddy, did you forget? Like, we're in the middle of Sefira here? He's like, no, the rabbi said I could It's a little bit awkward. But, again, on the flip side, if there's a guy that grows hair in like all the wrong funny places of his face, and Lamaisa, if he shows up at the girl's door, she's going to be like, okay, you just enjoy yourself. You go buy yourself a bottle of Coke and I'll stay in the car. Then there is something to talk about, important to note. Let's move on to another interesting area. Running out of time. What's there with going to weddings when you're holding Sefira, but the person making the wedding isn't? For example, after Lag Ba'omer, different minhagim. If we do make weddings, don't make weddings. Some people do. Are you allowed to go to the wedding? Are you allowed to dance? You're allowed to listen to music. So what's the answer? The answer is yes. Rav Moshe writes in the tshuva yes. And the reason is the problem is making a wedding. The problem is not attending a wedding. You're going to a wedding. Believe it or not, you're doing a mitzvah. So much so, an incredible kula I saw today from Shmuel Felder over here. What happens? And this, people ask this question, like you laugh. We said today, we're talking with the Chevra that, the way that us Yidden work, you get a kula, you get the finger, they grab the whole hand. I'm allowed to go to the wedding, so could I shave? What shaykh is? I told you to go to the wedding, what? But Lamaisa, this is wild. Comes along Rav Moshe, and Rav Moshe says, I'm not sure. Maybe because you're allowed to go to the wedding, that gives you a right to get a haircut. He's not sure. Shmuel Felder of your Paskins, that if you wouldn't go to the wedding if not, which again, I understand is a high level, but we can understand, that guy that we just spoke about that's growing hair in funny places, and it doesn't really work out well for him. And, he's not going to go. Let's just say that's the case. Rabbi, if I can't shave, maybe it's again, we don't have to be, not nice. Maybe it's a more modern relative. Maybe it's in a certain area that he doesn't feel comfortable, whatever it is. Lamaisa, there is a makkah to be. I thought that was absolutely wild. Why? Let's understand. Because it's a mitzvah. When you're going to the wedding, what are you doing? You're going to do a mitzvah. And part of the mitzvah, that's the heter. So because of the mitzvah that allows you even to shave and get a haircut, absolutely wild. We'll conclude with Lamaisa. The other heterim that many people know about is, there's such a thing as you're allowed to listen to music. We all know you're not supposed to listen to. We know something called a cappella. If you just can't handle it. So it's interesting. So the Paiskim talk about that if the mustache is blocking the food, that's what the Paiskim say, and they say then you're allowed to do it. That's what they say. I wonder aloud if something you just can't handle it. I would think there's a similar because what's the whole vart? The vart is that it's not a right. The answer is it's not l'chatzchila. It's not l'chatzchila. But if it's a point that it's similar to the mustache, you putting the food in the mouth and it just doesn't go, like everything's come a little bit gross. Maybe. But just to conclude, we know we don't listen to music, okay, and we know that a cappella. Yeah, when you have to ask, is it a cappella? Okay, good, fine, wonderful. Now, someone did tell me, I think if we remember during COVID, there were a lot of interesting shilos that the whole world is depressed, unfortunately. And especially when you lock yourself up in your house for days, weeks, months on end. I was in a different country, so there were different rules in Eretz Yisrael, for good and for bad, whatever it was. But Lamaisa, everyone wants to know you're allowed to listen to music. I'm not listening to music to enjoy it. I'm partially listening to it to survive. And the answer was it's mutter, and it's just something that's important for one to know, if it's just for your sanity. But just other areas there are ways to be makel if need be, as they say for exercising. Someone needs to exercise. And the bottom line is, I don't listen to music, I'm not exercising. You're allowed to, but we just have to realize, but you're not doing it because it's geschmack. There's different types of exercising. Sometimes there's, you were black. It's a different thing. Oh, for a drive is the same thing. If Rabbi, I'm going to fall asleep. So number one, pull over and take a nap. I can't, I have to, okay. Lemaisa, if you're doing it for another purpose and not for enjoyment, there is a heter. One just has to be, honest. Another one is background music. Another one is, you're putting on music just to, to drown out the noise and focus. These things are mutter for a simple reason that you're not playing music for music. You're playing music similarly, a lot of the kids' story tapes, I don't know if they still exist, have music in the background. These type of things, the reason is that you're not playing the music. And the final thing is, if someone is not holding Sefira and you're going on a drive with him, you don't have to be a tzaddik for him. He's allowed to listen to music, but you also shouldn't be like, oh, you're listening to music, put on this. You're supposed to just not be involved. Now, if he wants to listen to music, that is the story, yes? Kids l'maisa, like we said, there's really no avails for kids. So when the age that the kids understand, then whatever. Yeah, no. 5-year-old kids do not understand. The 5-year-olds allowed to listen to music. Nah, but they don't even understand it. 5-year-olds are allowed to listen to music. But again, you shouldn't be blasting music for the 5-year-old, which is really for yourself. But it's true. No, yeah, but often for the kid, it's also a var to just to keep them occupied. That's 100% fine. And so I'm happy I didn't do it. There is a halachas next Friday. Like Omer, what's the story? Maybe we'll have a part 2 next week. If not, we'll just do a short whatever it is.